Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Thanksgiving, I'm thankful to be with some of my favorite people, Nicholas Diak and Michele Brittany of the Scholars from the Edge of Time. And today they will take us back to the past, to ancient Egypt, or at least a modern understanding of ancient Egypt, where we will visit the world of Cleopatra. Greetings and welcome, O scholars.
Greetings, Hercules, and happy
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving to you and your
Thank you.
family, and to those of us joining us for another episode of Scholars on the Edge of Time, in which we talk about Serpent of the Nile, directed by William Castle and released in 1953. But before we actually start our discussion, we might catch viewers up with things that we've been up to. So would you like to start?
Sure. Let's see what's been going on. I guess fun stuff for starters. Since tonight we'll be talking about a William Castle film, I have a stack of props. So
Oh, those are props over there.
these are props,
Oh, okay.
you know.
It's like,
Well, William Castle was a showman, so this is gonna be a very showman person night. Okay, I'll start with just something got just this week. Um, just came out a new 4K Blu-ray on steel disc of the Ten Commandments.
All right.
Haven't seen it, but hey, it's got Yul Brynner, so it's going to be awesome. I mean, we've talked about Yul Brynner a couple times on the show. We watched the Kings of the Sun, where he was a Native American fighting
oh yeah.
Incas, I think it was. That was a while ago. And then the one that he was it with the lady. Oh my God. Solomon and Sheba. We watched that one. So we've watched two Yul Brynner historic epics. So someday we're gonna have to tackle the epic of epic Yul Brynner films.
I think this is in our near future because Nick needs to watch that movie. I can remember that movie coming out, oh, I think every year or every couple of years.
It's like 4 hours long.
Well, they televise it on television. That's how I remember seeing it. So I don't actually know if I've seen a complete version of it. So definitely have to rectify that.
See, I mostly know it from History of the World Part 1, where Moses comes out with 15, nay, 10 commandments.
Oh, because he dropped
He,
five.
he dropped an
He
entire
dropped the
tablet.
Okay, got it.
So that's item number one gotten. Want me to keep going with items?
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay. There's a record store chain nearby us called Zia Records. They do, it's like a used movie record store, whatever. We like to go there and hunt around. So I picked up some new Peplum soundtracks that they had on sale.
Right.
The Egyptian have not seen, unfortunately. It's probably, well, we'll be talking about a different Egyptian film tonight. And then Gladiator 2, which we have seen. We talked about that last year or
right.
earlier this year.
Earlier this year.
I've
And
heard
I'm
that
sure,
one too.
yeah, and I'm sure, as I recall, I think the music was very good.
It was Hans
So
Zimmer again. I mean, was he the one who did the original?
I actually
It's
don't remember
it's
now.
a different composer. I know that. Harry Gregson Williams. He did not do Gladiator 1.
Mm-mm.
I think it was Hans Zimmer that did original. I just know he did it in conjunction with the lead singer of Dead Can Dance, who brought in all the
Oh, okay.
That's
Alrighty.
I think that's it for my show and tell. All the other show and tells props when we talk about tonight's movie.
Any new essays that you've put up on your website or that
Just
are relevant?
well, not relevant. I've got only one new essay at my website. It's been slow going writing, but I do have a review of the new issue of Bachelor Pad, their nylon nightcap. That is as far from peplum as you can get, but that's at my website. Uh, and then last, this is in progress, but Michele and I, we got press passes. We went and saw a Tiki documentary 2 weeks ago called The Dawn of Tiki. It's about Don the Beachcomber, his rise to creating the Don the Beachcomber, tiki bars and his place in tiki culture. Um, we went to a pre-screening event and got to interview the director and producer, try out some new tiki drinks. Michele took a lot of photos. I recorded an interview and I just got to compile it all together, and we'll be submitting that to Exotica Moderne, which is the tiki magazine that we occasionally write for. So
There
that's a coming next year.
are some tiki things for me years ago.
Uh-huh.
Used to read all the tiki stuff, so I cannot see a tiki or anything from tiki culture without thinking of both of you. And the fact that
Aw.
there are alcoholic beverages that enhance your experience in this culture.
Yeah, Nick was ambitious. He was going to try all three new drinks. We went to
I mean,
Undertow, which is a tiki bar in Phoenix. Very nice. For those in the area, it's definitely worth the trip to that bar. It's got a lot of ambiance. It's kind of set in the cargo hold of a pirate ship. Really neat decor and really sets up a tiki experience. If you know,
it takes a lot of cues from Trader Sam's, which is Disneyland's tiki bar,
oh
in that it's
yes,
a lot
that's
of,
right.
there's a lot of, well, how do I put it? There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's not just you're in a
Yeah,
bar, like the portholes are all lit up and the ocean is waving and a volcano is erupting. And so,
Yeah.
there's thunder and lightning as, you're in the pirate hold and, a storm is battering it. So it's very
yes,
immersive. And
yes.
we should we haven't been there yet, but the place, I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the map here. The tiki bar, it's called Undertow. The people that run it run another bar that's in the same building, and it's a similar thing. It's not a tiki bar, but it's called like Grand Central. Um, or Grand Century, that's what it's called. And it's trying to mimic like you're on a train going through the mountains. And so we haven't done that one yet, but from what I read about it, the windows flash by, there's change in scenery, it feels like you're in like an upscale, bar in one of the train cars on an old train. And so that, I guess that's what this company kind of specializes in, is these very immersive experience bars. But their tiki bar is awesome. We've been twice, and we need to go some more.
Yeah. So he didn't end up doing all three drinks, but you did try, just kind of as a teaser, you did try the zombie as well as I think
Pearl Diver.
Pearl Diver. Yeah, and the third drink was
I don't remember. I don't remember what they're, probably a rum barrel or something. I don't know.
yeah.
But it was fun. We hadn't been able to do press coverage of anything since before COVID times, where
Yeah.
Michele and I would cover comic book events or concerts and stuff. So
Yeah.
it was nice to, be press again. I put on my Fonzie Bear hat that says press in the side. Okay.
Really?
But
I didn't see that.
and then afterwards we went to the theater to watch the actual documentary, and it was a lot of fun. As much as I am into tiki culture, I don't know everything about tiki culture, and the two big names of tiki culture are Trader Vic Bergnon and Don Beach, um, the two people that basically created the concept of the tiki bar with the tiki drinks and the mugs and the immersive experience of all that stuff. So it was nice to have a documentary that's focused just on him instead of just kind of tiki culture in general. It's just mostly focused on him. Um, some of the places in the documentary Michele been to, like he's in Hawaii. Michele's like, I've been there. It's in that
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, he was instrumental with the development of the international market in Honolulu, which I'd been to, and so it was kind of neat. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been there." That was actually really cool. But I really enjoyed the documentary. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was, insightful, entertaining, informative. So very enjoyable evening out and being pressed for that event. So looking forward to when Nick writes up his his coverage of it. And so, yeah.
Yeah, stay tuned 2026. That will be out in Exotic Commander. Of course, we'll have a copy and show it off on a future episode.
Yep. Yep.
So those are, I've still got a lot of stuff in the pipeline to edit, write, and all that stuff, but that's basically all the cool new stuff I've gotten and stuff that's come out. So what about you, MCB?
Other than just continuing to do Ride the Stream with Travis, who's a good friend of ours, we continue our exploration of the television series Lost. We're in season 2. We just recorded our discussion about episode 10, and we've done 2 in-depth discussions of movies. One being Indiana Jones,
Raiders Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then the second one was The Martian.
The Andy Weir
Novel, or movie based on the novel, starring Matt Damon. And we enjoyed both movies quite a bit, and had a lot of fun discussing both of them. We just need to decide what movie we're going to do next. So as we continue with Lost. So what? That smile says a lot.
All of a sudden, does that mean y'all are open to suggestions for your next movie?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, y'all should watch like the rated X version of RoboCop.
No, we don't do that. We're kind of,
when I say rated X, not like there's a pornography, but the Criterion edition edit of RoboCop.
No, that's a rough movie. It's a great movie, but it's rough. It's very violent.
No, okay.
So
RoboCop.
yeah, we'll just move on. Move on. So
maybe John Wick.
I don't know.
No, maybe Ferngully.
No.
Okay,
Let's just move on. So that's kind of the big thing. Just been working on my art. Got some goals in mind for next year related to that. Quit grinning.
Just thinking of movies.
Yeah. Well, let's focus in. I think that's a good segue to tonight's movie.
What's tonight's movie?
Serpent of the Nile.
And I'm going to make a request. Think about it. Your assignment, should you choose to accept it, is to do a special Scholars from the Edge of Time episode on Stargate, the original movie.
Oh, definitely.
And
yes.
Then to have my resident Egyptologist contribute to an adventure with some other people who are into Egypt and know a lot about Egypt as to where they felt their Egyptian thing with the serpents, the Goa'uld in Stargate SG-1 went off from how the Nedger are portrayed in Egyptian mythology. So if you guys are interested, I'd love to weave that in sometime by the end of the year.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would love that. I'd love to revisit the original movie, and definitely would like to watch some of the series. I can remember attending one year the San Diego Comic-Con, and they had done a really neat display. And I don't know if it was like a reboot of the series. What exactly was the catalyst for this huge display on the floor of San Diego Comic-Con? But they had the Stargate.
Oh, wow.
And it was really, really cool. I don't remember that they had any stars there. They might have had it in Hall H. Maybe there had been a panel, but I just know the booth was really exciting, and I really just like the whole, actual Stargate and the spin. I think it's fun too. Just, to be a little bit interactive. So
I remember being a kid, aside from seeing Stargate, we had a Sega Genesis, and we'd always rent the Stargate Sega video game and play that, my brother and I, a lot. So fond memories of Stargate, the video game.
Well, there's definitely a lot to do with Stargate, so we'll definitely have to do like probably a multi-part, because it would be very interesting to get the the video game in there as well.
Yes,
I don't think we get a
that.
chance to talk about that too much. So
I think I have the video game for a Nintendo 64 somewhere. I don't know if there was one or if I'm confusing it. But I had one of the versions of it, and I have some of the comic books from the original movie and some of they continued the story in the series of novelettes. And I have all of those, and I read them at one point many, many moons ago. And they had a totally different take on the Egyptian gods and uh, what was going on Earth with the aliens and so forth.
yeah, I think an exploration of that IP would be fascinating to do next year with all the different lenses. So I like that.
Maybe the serpents of the Nile, which we're going to examine today, maybe we could think of a way of linking that to Stargate, you know.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Well, I know one way, but we'll get into it here in a bit. So, should we go ahead and get started?
Usually I'm the one who gives the plot, but since this is Egypt related and Michele is the Egypt expert, she has cooked up the plot synopsis for us today.
Yep, it's a little bit long, and I do apologize about that, but
Sorry.
I felt like trying to, hit all the major narrative beats is important for this movie. So like I said at the beginning of the hour, this movie is from 1953, and the director is William Castle. It starred Rhonda Fleming as Cleopatra, Raymond Burr as Marcus Antonius, William Lunigan as Lucretius, and a very young Julie Newmar as the Gilded Dancer. She's the dancer that's all painted gold. Anyway, I'll have more to say about that.
That's Catwoman.
Was Catwoman. So anyway, the film opens on the steps of Rome in the moments following the assassination of Julius Caesar. Several Romans are vying to fill the power vacuum left by Caesar, including Marcus Antonius and Brutus. Battles ensue. Captain Lucretius is loyal to Brutus and Rome, so when Antony's troops threaten Brutus's capture, Lucretius stands in for Brutus, knowing that he is likely to die. However, when the fake Brutus is captured and brought before Antony, Antony immediately recognizes the bait and switch tactic. Instead of killing Lucretius, Antony and the captain who had served with Julius Caesar in Egypt become friends. Lucretius joins Antony's army and endeavors to provide Antony with counsel. Later on, Antony and Lucretius are awaiting the arrival of Cleopatra to the port city of Tarsus. As they wait, the two men agree that women are not rulers. Antony anxiously looks forwards to meeting Cleopatra, expecting her to basically kowtow to him and the great power of Rome. This is Cleopatra, a pharaoh, and she pulls out all the stops to charm, flirt, and sway Antony to join with Egypt. On their initial meeting banquet, a golden dancer comes to life on the platform that is heavily laden with gold coin. The dance, the wine, the gold, Cleopatra herself all entice and hook Antony. Yet a love triangle is revealed. Cleopatra and Lucretius seem to have had some unfinished business. Lucretius, however, knows Cleopatra's game and does not fall into the pharaoh's bed, promptly leaving instead. Once everyone is back in Egypt, Lucretius explains to Antony that the Egyptian people are desperately going hungry, while Cleopatra hoards food, wine, and gold. He cannot break the spell that Cleopatra has over Antony, so the captain approaches Cleopatra, but she only wants to seduce him. Neither are successful, so Cleopatra schemes to break up Antony and Lucretius' friendship, but sending the captain after her half-sister, who apparently is threatening the reign of Cleopatra and Antony. The captain is wounded, and the distrust grows towards Cleopatra and what her true intentions are by aligning with Antony. Lucretius is put under house arrest, but Antony helps his friend to escape so the captain can return to Rome and explain the situation. Lucretius returns to Rome, and the Senate vote to make haste to Egypt, as they do not want Cleopatra nor her son, Julius Caesar's son, back in the city so the boy can gain absolute rule over the civilized world. Battles again ensue. Rome against Cleopatra and Antony's combined army. Antony does not lead his army because he realizes his mutiny against Rome, and more importantly, that Cleopatra was just using him to get her son on the Roman throne. There was no love between them, which is vastly different from the 1963 Cleopatra film, starring Elizabeth Taylor, by the way. As Octavius and the Roman troops invade Alexandria, Antony stabs himself with his beloved sword. Lucretius arrives in time to help the dying Antony to Cleopatra's chamber. Cleopatra's son has been secretly escorted from Egypt, but she whispers that his future will be short and not the one she envisioned. She picks up the asp from the bowl of figs and allows herself to be bit. Although the screen fades to black, we all know that Cleopatra will soon die by the snake's venom. End of movie. Have you seen it?
Hi. No, I flicked it off, so I was coughing. No, I haven't seen that. If I saw it, it was many, many years ago. I was trying to recollect pictures while you were talking. That is quite a difference from most accounts that we get cinematographically about Anthony and Cleopatra.
It really is. I was, well, first thing is the movie was in Technicolor, so it was kind of on par with this rather showy and impressive set and costume design that you would have had with the Cleopatra of 1963. But like you picked up on, it was a vast departure in the portrayal of Cleopatra herself, which I thought was really interesting. A couple of other things, while Nick does get back here in a moment, but I figured I could definitely kind of comment on the fact that Lucretius he was a real person, historical figure from a long line of Lucretius family. He did actually pretend to be Brutus and was pardoned by Antony when he was captured. They did become friends. There wasn't a whole lot else that I could find when I was doing some research on Lucretius, but I did find that added some depth to the relationship and what was going on, because essentially this movie is kind of, I'm going to say, a safe movie for the 50s. It's, it's grandiose, but at the same time, it does have roots in melodrama. Cleopatra and Antony, she did have, a son with Caesar, but she also had 3 children with Antony, a daughter and 2 sons. Their relationship, as far as I could tell, did kind of sour in the last couple of years before they did both commit suicide. The other thing is that Arsinoe, Cleopatra's younger sister, was actually a prisoner of war from the time of Julius Caesar. And she was under kind of a house arrest or whatever. And she was actually someplace else. But at some point, probably not long after Cleopatra and Antony were together, she was able to kind of position Antony to basically request and order the execution of the younger sister. So that is, also true historically, but the timeline doesn't match with what's portrayed in the movie. One thing that
Wait, you're saying that Serpent of the Nile isn't 100% historically accurate?
no, it's not quite historically accurate. But what's interesting is this movie does allude to a lot of kind of political maneuverings and things that were going on. I mean, it was pretty complex, and I'll be honest, I was like really amazed by just all the things that were going on. The fact that Anthony and Octavius were kind of aligned, but then, they went separate ways and they became, enemies. Anthony was, considered a traitor to Rome. And so, yeah, just very interesting, to have this general who had done so much in his life, had been with Julius Caesar, very much a Roman, and how over time, with his relationship with Cleopatra, totally did a 180. Obviously, this movie compacts it down.
Should be noted, this is like a hair above 80 minutes. So
Yeah.
this is a short movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel short at times, but it is a very concentrated film for sure.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of probably due to budget reasons, there's not a lot of let the scene breathe. Let's put a little respite in here. It's bang, 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 bang. Let's get it all. Let's move the plot along.
Yeah, and I did read that this was a
I should.
low budget. This did
okay.
not have a big budget. And one of the things that I read is that apparently the movie was meant to be based on, and I'll be honest, I haven't read it, but it was Haggard's book. Let me see real quick. It's supposed to be based on H. Rider Haggard's book by the same name, Cleopatra. It's supposed to be based on that. I guess it was kind of 2 years kind of formulating, which, not really.
Oh, I got a line for that one.
Oh, about it. It was
Okay,
like,
so
okay, you're gonna take the thunder. Go
so
for it.
so I got it. Okay, so to prep us for tonight's episode, I should mention, why are we talking about William Castle? If y'all recall, a couple months ago, Michelle and I went to an antique mall and I found a lobby card for a movie called Slaves of Babylon. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
Peplum lobby card. And looked at director, it's like William Castle. I'm like, William Castle did Sword and Sandal films. We know William Castle from, movies like, again, I brought the props, House on Haunted Hill, which is I think a good movie, probably because Vincent Price is carrying the movie.
Oh, that's a big part of the success.
And of course, Rosemary's Baby, which he produced, not directed, but still a William Castle film. That's
But he actually bought the rights to the novel, and he really wanted to direct Rosemary's Baby. He wanted to be elevated as an A-list director. And ultimately he did not end up directing it. It went to Roman Polanski, but he did produce the movie, and so anyway, from there.
But that's what we know William Castle from, the man with the gimmicks,
Yeah.
So here we find out he did not just one Peplum film, he did 5 Peplum films actually. They are Serpent of the Nile, Slaves of Babylon, Saracen Blade, Iron Glove, and Charge of the Lancers. And so I picked up the William Castle documentary, which we watched a couple nights ago, called Spine Tingler, which focuses on his horror movies, basically, the ones that he directed and all his gimmicks, and then picked up his autobiography. Neither of them really talk about his Peplum films, and so that's one of the reasons we're talking about it tonight. Give him some attention, and also, it's been a while since we watched the Egypt one. That's Michelle's wheelhouse, but even though he doesn't talk a lot about his Peplum films, he does mention in his autobiography.
It's the same thing.
Okay. So, page 118. Sam Katzman was a smallish man with a round, cherubic face and twinkling eyes. Few people in the motion picture industry took him seriously as a producer of quality films, but to me, Sam was a great showman. Sitting in his office, he greeted me warmly and handed me a script. Serpent of the Nile is my most ambitious project to date, all about that Cleopatra broad, Mark Antony, and that Julius Caesar guy. Rhonda Fleming, who had worked for me in a one-line bit in When Strangers Marry, played Cleopatra. Raymond Burr played Caesar. Serpent of the Niles promoted and sold to the public as follows. Gigantic, fantastic, 2 years in the making. Actually, Katzman had been talking about making the picture for 2 years. The ad should have read, 2 years in the talking, 12 days in the shooting.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing.
And that's unfortunately all he has to say about Serpent of the Nile, unfortunately, because I think there's probably, cool production stuff that would have gone on in that film. But
I think generally the movie compares the 1953, the 50s. I mean, this film does fit within I'm going to say it's kind of a safe film. It aligns with a lot of the other films in the 50s as far as Technicolor, the injecting melodrama, the necessary formula of various battles and things like that are consistent with sword focused movies.
so with that in mind, I agree. This movie, 1953, so we're about a little under a decade before the Italian peplum phenomenon happens. And it is, I'll put this out. This is a safe film. It's a middle of the road film. It's
Yes.
neither. I was truly hoping for a kind of a hidden gem. It wasn't quite that, but you compare it to like a low budget Italian film to a movie like this, and it feels like it is missing that pizzazz and that oomph that an Italian low budget sword and sandal film has that this one doesn't quite have. And the other thing is a decade earlier, a different movie came out called Caesar and Cleopatra with Vivien Leigh, which we talked about a couple years ago. And I'll be honest, I think this is the superior Cleopatra film. I haven't seen the Elizabeth Taylor version, which came out in '63, so 10 years after Serpent in the Nile. So it's a middle of the road B. I would call it a toga and sandal film, which is a term we've used a couple times for the more less on the martial side of things and more on the political intrigue, court maneuvering, assassinations and poisonings and, melodrama and love stories and whatnot, and less on the, strong man with club, monkey on head type stuff. So this is more of a drama in a love triangle. I don't think the love triangle's that good, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and I just don't feel like the chemistry between the three actors was there. I think that was also missing from this film. Because you do have Raymond Burr, who I never saw as like a real love interest. I mean, he's obviously known for Perry Mason, Ironside.
Godzilla, Godzilla, Godzilla.
Well, yes, he was that, yeah, too.
That's
But anyway, the fact remains is there's not a lot of chemistry here. And I mean, Rhonda Fleming's gorgeous. And I mean, they even dubbed her Queen of Technicolor.
So, side note, we talked about Rhonda Fleming a couple years ago when we talked about Revolt of the Slaves, where the cover lies. The cover shows her with a whip in the hand and explosions going on. That does not happen in this movie. This is biblical peplum, but I think she's with her natural red hair in that film, so she is a bit more vibrant. not this movie, she has like a black wig on, so she looks like Betty Page. Side note that she's on the cover of the DVD. When I first saw this, I thought this was a tiki lady because I thought her dress was pineapples and stuff. I'm like, that doesn't seem right. No, she wears that dress in the film. That's what she's.
Yeah, there's even mention that, 50s fashion is kind of incorporated, into the contemporary film. The bullet bra and things like that. And I mean, that is what it is. I mean, the costumes were beautiful. So anyway, go ahead.
About Raymond Burr, I was on the fence about Raymond Burr in this film, watching him because, yeah, he does not scream like main dude love interest. But I'll give it this, the more the movie went on, the more Raymond Burr, he has kind of these like sullen eyes. As the movie goes on, you kind of watch him as he is trapped in Cleopatra's like her seduction. She keeps him perpetually drunk and entertained and courted to, pampered, all that other stuff. And so he does realize that he loves her, but he also is he's basically in her clutches, and he knows this, and he does have this look of like defeat and resignation on his face. And there is a sequence where he leaves the court to go visit Lucius and give him some sleeping poison to take out some guards, and he has this look of defeat on his face. And so even though he doesn't scream, you know, head honcho love interest like we see like in other romantic peplum films, like Yul Brynner and whoever Sheba was, I forget. Gina Lollobrigida, right? I think he does play the role of the defeated. He's not a spurned love per se, but he does look that at least. I buy him as that.
Well, and I think he does. He plays the second half really well, playing the person that is like looking for. He thinks that Cleopatra loves him, and and he's happy with that, only to feel spurned by the fact that in fact it's all about maneuvering for her. It's all about maneuvering her son onto the Roman throne.
Mm-hmm.
And he even asks her if she loves him. She doesn't answer, and he realizes at that moment that there is no love from her corner, and in fact, and so that does play very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the love interest portion doesn't really work, and I mean when you look at it that way in the second half, that does kind of make sense.
But the other triangle, the other point of the triangle, the Lucius character,
Mhm.
his love story just falls flat. So what's kind of conveyed here is, years ago he was part of Caesar's entourage down
Yes.
in Egypt, and had a romantic interlude with Cleopatra, perhaps. So they know each other, and now that they met up again, it's one of those scenes of like, they say they love each other, but they're also at odds of each other. Isn't that Mr. and Mrs. Smith or something, kind of?
Something like that.
Like
it didn't.
It doesn't play
it doesn't really ring true, because he doesn't succumb to her, and I don't think that they. I mean, I think she was interested in him, but I don't think he was ever very interested in her, because he caught on to her game and kept trying to tell Antony, this is a game to her. She's just trying to charm you. This is not her. Be careful with her. And I think he knew that, and I mean, he would have known how she was.
Sorry, we had cats fighting. I'll go off with Michele saying the hard part about the Lucius character is all his dialogue is just retorts, an attempt at being witty. So anytime like Antony would say something, or Cleopatra says something, instead of like him like responding organically, he has like a quip that comes back. And so all his dialogue is quips, which I think, in the case of like a Bernard Shaw, Caesar and Cleopatra, where it's more playwright written that works, it doesn't work in here. So we don't really get to see Lucius's motives, feelings, or anything like that. We don't see what's really going on in his head because he doesn't communicate. I guess that's what it comes down to. He really doesn't, especially to the audience here. So we're left wondering, does he love Cleopatra? Cleopatra seems to love him because there's, times in the movie where Lucius is supposed to be assassinated. And Cleopatra finds out he wasn't assassinated. She's like, "Oh, thank you." She's kind of confiding all of this. So, the triangle kind of points one way, but he's just hard to read. I was just mentioning that Lucius, since all his dialogue is just retorts and one-liners and stuff like that, he doesn't really have anything meaningful to say. So he doesn't communicate, not to anyone in the film really, and not to us. So it's hard to gauge what his like true emotions and stuff are. I mean, all we really know is for a fact is he wants Antony to return back to Rome, which is, I think, kind of at odds in the movie because Antony is now in Cleopatra's fist under her control. It kind of shows how weak-willed Antony is in this film. He shouldn't be a leader of Rome because he was so easily seduced by Cleopatra. And Lucius either chooses to ignore that or doesn't factor that in because he wants to get Antony back to Rome and Hague back to Octavio, and let's push back against the Egypt menace and stuff. So it's at odds with itself, I would think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think also that there is chemistry, but it's between Antony and Lucius more so than the love triangle. And the friendship that develops really in a way it's a little bit explored, but I feel like that's an aspect that could have been better with the film.
You know what they should have done? The entire first 5 minutes of the film is ditch it. I think that's supposed to be character development for Lucius, but it doesn't really work. The first 5 minutes of the film, Rome's in civil war. Lucius is under Brutus's command. He pretends to be Brutus so Brutus can flee, but Brutus kills himself. Lucius gets captured by Antony, and then Antony's like, "Welcome aboard. Even though you're my prisoner, you're now my best friend." I say just cut that 5 minutes out and just go straight from Lucius as Antony's best friend. They've been in campaigns together. They've done stuff together, comrades in arms together. I think just going straight from that would have a bit more connectivity between those two, a brotherly relationship along with a military relationship.
And I think part of the reason that they have some of that is to convey Lucius' loyalty to Rome and also to Brutus. So, and that's something that Antony admires about Lucius. It's unfortunate that he just kind of ditches it. And again, I think that the real historical story is much more convoluted, much more political. And I think that 81 minutes isn't really enough time to really kind of convey all that. It's like they're flying at the 32,000 feet and trying to give a, like a high end picture. And again, I think ultimately the fact that this is kind of a safe film. There isn't a risk taken, and there isn't the chemistry there to kind of help elevate it.
It is a by the numbers film.
Yeah.
I would say one sequence that isn't quite by the numbers is the Golden Girl sequence, the Julie Newmar sequence. When Antony and Lucius are brought before Cleopatra in her boat, she puts on basically a play. This is your standard sword and sandal belly dancing sequence. The show ladies off and show that's your kind of proxy sex sequence. But this one is interesting in that they have, I'm going to call it a float. I don't know what it really is, but it's basically a parade float. And it's being pulled by Egyptian ladies. They're pretending to be slaves. I mean, they probably aren't really slaves, but they're pulling us along. And there's two Egyptian ladies dressed as Roman soldiers, and they have whips. So you have Egyptian women dressed as Roman soldiers whipping their own people as they're pushing the float along.
Fake
Yeah.
whipping.
Yeah,
But-
there's crack in the whip, but
Yeah.
and then the float has all this gold and it has Julie Newmar painted gold on it, and she does her dance routine. But there's something this is
I
more of a
think the
subtext
dance-
sequence where
Mhm.
Egyptians pretending to be Romans against their own Egyptians in this sequence. It says something. I don't quite know what that is. I think it goes hand in hand with usually in sword and sandal films, Rome is portrayed as, the debaucherous, country, hedonistic, unruly, and decadent and depraved. But in this film, Egypt is the one that's being portrayed this way, that the wealth is flowing upwards, the people are starving. But Rome is the paragon in this one. And it's just an interesting flip on what you do with the different civilizations in these films, I guess.
Mhm. Additionally, I think it kind of mirrors what happens in the climax of the film, which is Romans fighting against Romans. Antony's troops fighting, there are Romans fighting against other Romans, which is mirrored with the beginning, which is kind of the Civil War battles that are going on.
It is
As-
ended well in that regard.
Yeah, and that I would say is quite well done. The dance sequence was quite amazing actually, because on top of this, it looks like it's a cart, and the women that the women slaves that are toiling, they're trying really hard to heave the the cart along that's filled and overflowing with all the coin. And her dance, she's on the float and she looks like a statue, and she's holding two ends of what would be I'm going to say like if they were tied around her wrist type of things. But the shackles, so to speak, drop off of her and she goes into this dance sequence, and it's really it's very seductive, it's very sexy. It's actually pretty well done, and she was a great dancer in the film, and it really stands out. And of course I commented to him, I'm like, oh, this is like about 10 years before Goldfinger and the woman painted and laying on Bond's bed.
The difference is that lady died of skin suffocation from gold paint, while Catwoman is still doing her thing in this one.
Yeah. So anyway, and she does her dance, and then she kind of is put back up on to the onto the cart, and she's able to very seamlessly pick up those shackles again and become back kind of a statue. And of course, Antony goes over there and he starts looking at all the coins, and he throws the coins to the slaves. And of course, you only see their hands picking up the gold.
And their feet. There's some
And their
feet.
feet.
There's some Doris Wishman feet shots in that sequence.
Yeah. Maybe she was influenced by the film. I don't know. But
this is also your body-centric scene, sword and sandal, Hogan sandal in this case, body-centric genre. But this movie, Lucia said and Mark Antony, they stay basically armored and clothed throughout. They're just normal dudes. Cleopatra, Rhonda Fleming is Cleopatra. They do emphasize her body, but not like in a nakedness or show a lot of skin, but her dresses. In fact, even in the credits of the film, they make a special mention of, Rhonda Fleming's wardrobe provided by. And so they do go all out on accentuating her body with dresses and garbs. And she has like headpieces that we see, in other Cleopatra-like productions.
Yep.
But the Julie Newmar lady painted gold statue that comes to life and dances, that's your belly dancing scene. That is your sexy scene. That is your body-centric scene in this film. Of course, this is a 50s, so all belly buttons are hidden because oh my God, you can't let little kids see belly buttons now, can you? But that's your body-centricness. This other outside that, there isn't a lot of emphasis on either male or female body. Instead, it's take me in your arms and tell me that you love me type, but and that's like the extent of it. There's not even any kissing or anything like that. It's extremely 50s conservative American chaste in that
Well,
regard.
they do have kissing, but it's the total flat lips against
Yeah.
each other, no passion. Not like what we see nowadays where they're practically tongues down their throats or something. So, yeah, they definitely chaste, kissing, but in keeping with the era that this film came out.
I did read that the film, one of the reasons that it's able to be shot and look a little more high production value than normal, was that it was shot reusing sets from the movie with Rita Hayworth, Salome,
Yes.
which, well, that's not Salome, but it's in here. It's a multi-pack.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that one yet, but that mimics, Italian production, 10 years later, where, hey, we just shot Ben-Hur in Italy. What can we do with all this leftover stuff? Let's make a Hercules film. And then thus, the sword and sandal genre is truly born. But no, this movie took didn't take cues, but very much in alignment with other low budget films of reusing what's available. They reused the historic epic sets of that film, which would become common practice of other films. So
The Italian waterfall.
they should have had that. They should have flown out and just did one shot at that Italian waterfall.
I know.
That's kind of what betrays this movie from not looking as epic like an Italian. Because, over in Italy, you have history of this laying around. You just go to your backyard and you've got a castle and, aqueducts and all. Okay, I'm being a little, general here, but you could do that. In America, you don't really have that. So everything in this movie is very close quarters. Almost, 80% of the movie is in a room on a set. There's not very many exterior shots. What few exterior shots are, matte painting and whatnot. There's like, yeah, sure, there's a chariot in the desert, but you don't get like a scope of anything really. It's very close. And I get that. It's a low budget film. You're trying to shoot this in the deserts outside of, LA. So I think that kind of betrays the epicness a bit. And that's what makes it seem more claustrophobic and more drama centric. It's very in on the characters instead of
Well, and I think
out and showing a scope. It has to be.
Yeah, it has to be because it is a melodrama, so it needs to focus in on that, and I think that's why it's more on the political intrigue than because there are some battle sequences in there that are outdoors, but there's other like fight scenes that are choreographed on stairs and stuff like that are they're passable, they're not great. So the choreography is okay, but it could have done with a little more oomph in the choreography department.
There is a sequence where Lucius is fighting the Egypt captain, not the assassin, the Egypt captain. The assassin one is almost as bad, but they're on the stairs and they're just kind of flailing about on the stairs. Here comes a spear. Hold on, let me get in a position to block your shot. Okay, now go. It's that kind of fighting.
Yeah, definitely not Robin Hood.
There is no chandelier swinging. Yeah, there's not a lot of razzmatazz in the melee, but yeah, it's fine. That's this movie.
So I have to ask because we're getting ready to wrap up our conversation. I believe.
Yeah.
But your thoughts about the movie and how it fits into like William Castle and the larger genre.
So thoughts about the movie itself. Again, I was hoping for like kind of a hidden gem, but it's just it's a middle of the road safe film. It's not boring, but it's also not exciting. It's just there. This movie was made to be a B film, to, be partnered with another film as a part of a double bill, that sort of thing. And it feels that way, especially when you compare probably the same budget given to Italians, 10 years later, which would make something, more extravagant and engaging. Um, as a William Castle film, this is years before he started doing the gimmicks with films. According to the documentary watch, he'd always kind of done gimmicky type things back when he like worked in theater. Um, but at this time he was kind of a director for hire. He wasn't producing his films yet. When he started producing his films, when he was actually going out and buying books to get the rights to turn them into movies, that's when the gimmicks started happening. It started with I wrote this down, Macabre, 1950, I think it was seven, somewhere there. And his gimmick in that was, there was life insurance policies if he died of fright watching this. Apparently, the movie's not very scary, but the gimmick got people in the seats. But that this is, I guess a slice of William Castle is just kind of a competent, director for hire for a studio. Get this movie out on time, on budget, and and to be fair, that's how a lot of Italian filmmakers worked. That here's a low budget, make the zombie knockoff, make this, Hercules knockoff, make a Jaws knockoff, and they would. Sometimes the movies turn out great, sometimes they turn out very cheesy, but you still love them. And one of the things we did learn about William Castle, he was very optimistic and very energetic about his films. Makes me think of like a competent Ed Wood. You read about Ed Wood, like he had all this energy to make a film. He really wanted to make movies. The difference is the Ed Wood films are bad in a good way. They don't have the technical craftsmanship. There's craftsmanship in the William Castle films. So I do think his other. We haven't watched him yet. I definitely do want to watch him. I do want to see more attention on his epics, because this was the period of Hollywood coming out with their big epics. The Ten Commandments are going to come out soon. The Cecil B. DeMille films and all that stuff. And here's William Castle making low budget equivalents of those. And it's a practice we would see 10 years later across the ocean. So.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I mean, I like the film for similar reasons that you've expressed. Um, it could have been better, but it wasn't horrible or anything like that. I did find it was neat to see William Castle direct a film and be very confident about it. I wish he felt it's he was on the road to be, a director like he really wanted to. But I think his talent really lied in producing, and the fact that he had foresight into buying different novels to adapt them to films. I think he really excelled at that. Like he really had vision. So I think that that's actually, where I think he really excelled. Yeah, he was a showman, and I love his gimmicks and stuff like that, and they'll always be remembered. But he had a really good start. And I mean, this is part of his filmography and definitely worth, taking a look at. Raymond Burr's in it, obviously. We've talked about him. My one thing to that is the very first autograph that I collected was his. I had a cousin who was a contractor that worked on Burr's house in the Napa Valley. And so I don't know why my cousin got me this autograph, but he did. And so that was my very first autograph that I ever got from a celebrity, is Raymond Burr. So that's kind of neat. And of course I did like him a lot in, down the road in
Godzilla.
Perry Mason and Ironside and, stuff like that. But I found it enjoyable. Definitely worth a look at. And definitely, fits all the different things that we like to study, and it helps to us better understand other films that came before and after it, and what it puts forth as part of that larger body of work.
This is a puzzle piece film.
Yeah.
It's not a first. It's not a set on its own. This is a movie that needs to be in relation to other films and part of like you said, bigger picture. It's a puzzle piece film that fits in a bigger puzzle.
Yeah. So
I would still recommend.
Oh,
as a safe afternoon chill out. Hey, if you like Rhonda Fleming, I do. She's very pretty in it, at least.
Yeah, and the costumes are great too. I did actually really like the costumes. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on that, but costumes were great.
Her costumes are great.
I liked actually the Roman costumes. I thought those were actually very interesting. I don't know how historically accurate they were, but I did find them very interesting and curious by the various colors that were used because they definitely had different colors. And I think those are dependent on, what station you are in life or what role in the Roman army. So anyway, I think with that, we are going to hand over the torch of knowledge back to our most capable host, Hercules. Thank you very much for this time.
You're full of wisdom and lots of insights. So I thank you for that. And today you mentioned the waterfall again. That's come up like countless times in your show. And I got an idea for a documentary about this waterfall. And
oh, yes, the waterfall.
That'd be great. Make it a filmography. Have actors play these people that are no longer around, and have like a very weird and otherworldly plot in the background about this waterfall. So who knows?
I knew I was keeping track for a while. Every time we watched a movie that had those waterfalls in Italy, like I'd make a note of it. I know I have it on my website of a handful of them. Like shot here, oh my God, we get excited when we see the waterfall. You get excited when you see like a cameo in a film. Oh my God, it's that one guy. Oh my God, it's that one. Oh my God, it's the waterfall.
It would actually be interesting to see. I don't know. It would be fun to kind of connect the dots and where they show up. Because we definitely don't see them around now, but obviously they still exist. But with that, thank you again, Hercules. Happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to all of our viewers that joined us. We always appreciate that, and we're very thankful for people that tune in from month to month to hear our take on various films and other pop culture things. We're very appreciative of the platform.
And I'm very appreciative of you. And I am very fortunate, not only that we're working together, but you're only an email or a telephone call or a Facebook post away. But other people are not so fortunate. And they might be interested in all the wonderful work that you've done over the years. Much of it published in books and other types of publications. So how can people find you and enjoy these gems?
Oh, well, my author page at Amazon is probably a good way to see other things, other projects that I've been involved in along the way. I do have a website that I never update, but you could definitely go there and take a look. And I used to have a series called Michele Musings on Mummies. And I think I did like 40 plus little episode vlogs or blogs.
Bring it back.
And just generally I've been more focused in on art. I do have a Facebook page that's dedicated to my art that is public. What
about your YouTube channel of Travis?
Oh, yes. And the YouTube channel with Travis's Ride the Stream. So you could definitely go and see me there talking with Travis as we talk about Lost and other films. But as far as appearances and things like that related to this show and other things that Nick and I collaborate on, definitely go check out his website and you can say more about that.
Yeah, I'm at nickdiak.com. I publish a lot of articles there, but I keep, a running tab of, all of our different podcast appearances and stuff, social media. So it's a nice aggregated way to keep track of what we're working on and what we've done.
Thank you again so very much. Happy holiday, and I look forward to our next conversation. Good night, oh scholars. Much success and joy.
And back at you too.
Thank you.